Greetings. I know you're like on last video, you're like, what do you mean chew the cud? So for those who don't know, there's a term called chew the cud. That means just chew on it, think about it. Um, it's talked about in some circles, but what cows do when cows eat grass, they have two stomachs. So if you ever watch them, they chew, they extra chew on it. They chew on it, they think about it, they think about it over and over again. They chew on the cud. They chew on it, they grind it down to its finest to kind of get an understanding. And I'll say this with that. There are most times there's times where you think and you need to ponder on things, and there's other times when you need to take it with a grain of salt. I would think balancing at some point would come into play, and I'll talk about it in another video. But I just want to talk about, I just wanted to clarify that. But what I want to talk about is money on social media. So my thoughts on this is, so social media, we could run through them, and as I've done my research, I'll say this. So YouTube, from my understanding, has the best way to create revenue for individuals on there. Because you have AdSense, which most people get, creators get. It's like a 55 split between creators and YouTube. But now let me say this. I was listening to somebody else and they said this. It's just so true. Less on long form. On short form, it's exceptionally different. That's why I would most definitely say, especially with YouTube, stay away from short form. But if you're so inclined to do short form, just create a different channel to do the short form videos on, because you get paid pennies on a dollar. And here's why. I was listening to somebody else, they were talking about it, and that uh in the research, we found out that it's because the ads are in between the shorts, so they're not directly associated with the content creators. So for every ad that you will see, there's like two or three content creators. So therefore, it's not directly attached to your production, your video. And this is what TikTok does. This is what IG, I think it's more embedded with the creators of having sponsored videos for you to do that. But YouTube specifically, because I want to talk about YouTube, and then of course you get brand deals and things like that. But the beauty I like about YouTube is that you can build a business off of it, let it be more of a distribution as opposed to anything else. Because if you limit it to YouTube, then that's the only place in which you can create the content. You have to create it outside or off of there. You have to create a way to get the people off the platform. Of course, YouTube wants you to keep people on the platform, but your goal, or else you will always be uh hindered, limited, attached to YouTube in that sense. Other social medias. So as I'm doing my research, I'm looking into it, I'm seeing Facebook is another place where you can do it. You could do similar to what you do on YouTube, but the pay has drastically changed, of course, with the times with AI and whatnot. But other people, excuse me, have been doing that, and that's how they have been being able to get online and create different things. And don't sleep on Snapchat. Snapchat, the spotlight. There's a specific thing when you put it online that you need to do if you're really on Snapchat. There's a way that you can gain income on there. A lot of people are sleeping on that. Um, LinkedIn, I don't know a direct way that you can do it, but I know it more businesses operate on there, and I know they do have other sponsored things on there that you could utilize, but there's option there. Um, Also, X, which was formerly known as Twitter, is now paying people. That's another app that you could utilize. Um, um, Other ones that I do like are Pinterest. Pinterest are paying people. Etsy is paying people, of course, when you put products out there in Pinterest. And those are different populations of people that may use different things in your product that you can more tailor to them. Of course, TikTok is paying people online for how you do it, creators economy, but of course they want newer information out there or original content that you place off there. And one thing to think about, and I know different people do this, you may film YouTube. You can have an original film that you could attend for YouTube, split that off into your Patreon content, but then you could also take that same content that's on the Patreon and or upload it to TikTok first and then upload it to your Patreon content. There's a way to do it so that it kind of goes into your YouTube. You're not stopping what you've recorded. You're then continue the recording, saying whatever you're saying, keeping in mind where you're gonna upload it, and then go from there. So it's all one film session, but you cut and edit it differently. So that's another thing. Which ones that I didn't talk about? I talked about X already. There was one I didn't talk about. I think I talked about IG. IG you get paid on. Um, it slipped my mind. My bad, y'all. My bad. So let me just run through the ones that I talked about. I think I might have covered them all. I think I might have covered them all. There might have been one that I forgot, but I think I might have covered them all because I talked about all of them that you could do. I know what it is. Can't forget about these. Now, here's where we get to nitty gritty. Using all the social medias, thinking about that, but then there's also Twitch, which you get paid online, but it's harder to grow on there, and it's better if you have a bigger name. But I've known people who film both on YouTube and in Twitch at the same time. But the thought is to get your audience from each different platform, and they'll be different or the same age, different likes. They'll maybe have a different percentage that they'll be interested in the content that you have, depending on what type of content it is. But also there's Discord. Don't discount Discord. The reason I like Discord is because that's where you could create your own community. So it's not like the other social medias, but in working in tandem with what you do, it creates so much more. I would say it creates that. If you ever researched Warren Buffett, he talks about creating a moat. It's helping to create that moat. Of course, you have your own website, payment processor, and all that other stuff, which you all should know. But you create your own website, but you create your own Discord, and that's where you can house or host your community. You could do it in other apps and stuff that you could pay for or not pay for, but you're trying to think of where can you house or put people that you don't have to worry about getting kicked off. Now, there's other social medias that exist. They're smaller and they're more, I don't want to use the word off brand. I'll say decentralized. So they're not of the main. I think Odyssey is one and Rumble is another because I hear people say, like, why don't you post on Odyssey? Why don't you post on Rumble? That's always a thought that you could do, but that's that whole decentralized using stuff versus doing stuff online on what would be considered mainstream or mainstream publication, CBS, NBC, all that stuff. But there are off brands that you can do or not as I keep shouldn't say off brands, but not as well known brands. But that's something to think about. But those are ways that you can create money on social media But I will say most definitely, like you talked, as go back to the previous videos, as I talked before, how can you how can you use it to build up your empire, your business? How are you positioning yourself to do exactly what you want to do? And that's Get Freedom. And again, there's if you create it correctly, you'll end up creating less work for yourself than more work for yourself eventually. If you create it correctly, then you have different people in place, SOPs, and it'll be less people than it would be had you created it incorrectly. Because what you don't want to do is you do not want to create another job for yourself because you only have X amount of energy. You want to maintain your health and all that good stuff. So just keep that in mind. All right, y'all.